Alright, shallowing versus over the top move, two kinds of hand path. I'm going to explain how that looks, what kind of disadvantages and advantages they have, and we're going to start with over the top. I would say over the top is definitely a fade by a swing. You're going to have an easier time hitting the ball lower, you're going to create more spin, and you're going to have an easier time with mid-irons and wedges and out of the rough. And a shallowing golf swing has an easier time hitting driver, 3-wood, anything sweepy, hitting the ball high, hitting draws. Maybe a little bit less spin, but that could be a good thing if you have a high-speed player. So, over the top, if we look at our hand path, if I isolate my body and just show you how my hands move in relationship to my body, an over the top swing would go with this kind of circle. I'll show you again, slow-mo, a little bit bigger circle. There you go. So in backswing, it looks like you get a lot of depth early, and then you circle it this way. It's the same kind of like counterclockwise circle. If you have a clockwise circle, this way, so you gotta kind of get elevation first, and you circle it to the right, that's going to be more the shallowing golf swing. So if you look at Bryson, Rory, they actually get some elevation early, and then they go deep later, and then when they turn into the left arm, the club will come this way. Wyndham Clark, Matt Kuchar, they have more depth early, and then they kind of pinched already, and the arm comes off the chest early. Again, faders versus drawers, high ball hitters versus low ball hitters. Depending on the course, turf conditions, the equipment you play, they all have advantages and disadvantages. I played with an over-the-top swing last year, played quite successfully. My solution was to have less shaft lean, and when you have more of a shallowing swing, then you can actually have a little more shaft lean. Advantages, disadvantages. Let's start with that circle over the top one more time. First, we go in and over, in and over, and we're going to hit a beautiful fade that way. Not fade, just started left and stayed there. I've been shallowing my swing naturally lately, so it's not so easy for me anymore. Let's do it again. Lots of depth over. There you go. And it's a beautiful cut. 5-yard cut, landing by the flag, which is about 175. It's my 7-iron. So, one more time shallowing. We're going to refrain from depth. We're going to work on elevation first. And I'm going to circle it this way. Elevation first, circle. Also landing by the target. Same distance, but a complete different ball flight. Complete different ball flight. Over the top again. We're going to go deep early, circle it counterclockwise. Start the online, cutting away 7-8 yards, right into the green, and a little short, it's a little bit into the wind. And once again, shallowing, circle it to the right. I prefer that shot much more. Started right, trying to curve back longer. So let's make it super extreme shot so you guys see it. Over the top again. Super in, super over. Nice little cut. Oh, that was long. And super elevated, super under. It's going to be a sling hook a la Rory McIlroy. There you go. That should get through. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Timing wise, two differences. If you're over the top, you get a rush to downswing. People love it or hate it. I always hate it because it gave me no time with the driver. So if you're deep early and come over the top, you have a tendency to hit the ball very late, so you better get this down really, really quickly. You gotta send this thing down. You gotta pull that hand really hard if you're over the top with your hand pass. So I'm gonna demonstrate it again. You're gonna see a very, very quick transition. Nice cut. Should get that too. Wind died. There you go. Wind died on me, so got an extra 70 yards out of it. And if you go elevation early, you have to have patience to complete the circle. The first time you have time in your transition, and the club will whip much later. Is that something to get over? If you come from an over the top of one shallow, you need patience in the downswing for the first time as you are circling clockwise. Lots of patience now. That was a big hook, Jesus Christ. What happens if you come from an over the top pattern and you start to shallow, there's a tendency to rush the circle and still pull on the hand, which I just did. Sometimes I still step into that trap. There you go. Much more patient. No need to rush it. That's it. A little bit higher ball flight. Wind kicked up a little bit, so it might be just a little bit short. Oh, it got there. Like shallow and it's so much more stable. That's why I wanted to change it. I wanted to have a better wind game. I'm playing lots of golf these days in Florida. So, well, always windy here. Shallow one more time. The next thing, shallowing versus over the top, is how the wrists work. Definitely need a little bit more early ulnar activation if you come over the top. With the shallowing piece, I would definitely say we can hold this angle much better. So whether you use the pro sender or a cross-handed grip to get the right wrist into extension, definitely if you are coming under and shallow, you can hold that right wrist much longer. And if you come over the top, here's over top, if you have to get the right wrist into flexion much earlier. All right, so like which one's more predictable? Honestly, it's how you practice. It's how many golf balls you hit, and club face control should never be related to your wrist conditions. That's a whole bunch of baloney. Low closure rate, yada yada yada. There's guys that play over the top and send it down with ulnar deviation. There's guys who hold it longer. Honestly, it's just a skill. Like club face control is a skill, and these random golf coaches make it about technique. That's the biggest scam in all of golf. Low club face closure. Anyways, going back to my circle here, I like to play throughout my back a little bit more shallow. I'm trying to hold this much more resisted like this. So the angle that I'm creating in my backswing this way, whether it's a pro sender or you do it with a cross-handed grip, as you're circling this apparatus down, you want to hold it a little bit longer. So the release definitely feels much more passive. I'm talking about feels, not I'm talking about actual wrist mechanics, and that's secondary. It's about the feel. All right, hold it, Chris. There you go. It's just so stable in the wind. That's why you shallow. It's so stable in the wind. You can hit these stingers and the wind doesn't touch it. No, we're not gonna flop it around. We're gonna hold it. There you go. Also pretty stable with drawing a little bit to the left side. Left edge of the green. Again, you can also feel like you're kind of flexing your wrist a little bit to the right. You're gonna elevate your arms and give you these nice circles. That's how it should feel in the transition. Elevate, circle. All right, I'm mixing up the patterns a little bit as I'm going back and forth. Let's talk about one last thing. We talked about hand path circles, counterclockwise versus clockwise. We talked about the earlier release with an over top swing and the ability to hold a little bit more and de-loft it with a shallower swing. We talked about rhythm, patience, and last but not least, I think we should talk about the body position. If you are an early depth over the top guy, you're inclining yourself wanting to hang back. It's just a reaction. So we see typically these like really steep, no depth hand paths on the downswing, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm hitting the ball too late and I have to either release it this way and hang back. So what I've done in the last couple of swings accidentally, I was shallowing better, I was holding it better, I was still hanging back, and my right side dipped down too early. So now, if you're learning to shallow, not only do you have to change hand path, rhythm, and not releasing the hands anymore, you also have to actually stay longer on your left side bend this way. You cannot take the right shoulder down too early. I'm gonna focus on that now. There you go. Oh, she's thinking today. I'm not hitting it very good. So when I'm hitting it bad, I'm typically just telling myself, make a bigger circle. Like a bigger, more patient circle. And it's usually coming back. There you go. That's it. It's going 10 yards shorter now. The wind's picked up the club. Alright, one more. Bigger circle. Patient, big circle. There you go. Alright, well, this was a little bit more in depth about shallowing. And I'll post a lot of these videos because I think the circle this way or circle that way is key.